This is Joey Belville. Enough said, okay? Take it away, Joey. Thank you.
I love it when there's audio issues at an audio thing. That's always the most terrifying because you can't control it. Well, I take that back. The whole deal about today is trying to control it. I'm Joey. I teach, I'm just a music, audio nerd here in town. I have been, I'm mainly a musician and studio guy. So when I think of AV folks like yourselves, I usually get pretty intimidated because I'm just an A. And so, and we've all been called some version of that. So that's fine. I'm used to it. It's okay. But I don't really, I have inherited some, I fell into some film work, and I mainly have had music in placements and things like that. And my angle is, I teach an intro to digital audio class at Continuing Ed. I have for a long time. I mainly started there teaching the Apple Logic certification. And then I found that, man, that's a big beast of a program. Everyone's hella intimidated by it. And so we needed some sort of crash course in digital audio, and which you can take a really long time. But our course just kind of just is the speed dating version of it, you know, where you've been selectrocuted. And so I think I get a lot of folks like yourselves who are working in post who have come through my class and come to my class because they're amazing editors, but don't quite have their head around sound, frequencies, the basics of musical acoustics, the physics of it. I know I'm supposed to put this effect or a compressor, but I don't really know what it does. Or I know that all the knobs here on the screen are the EQ, and this is the loud one. And so there's a lot of basic knowledge, but a lot of times people don't have the guts to admit that they don't know it. And so, which is fine. So we're very ego-friendly in the class, and so I'm not a major jag to anybody. Just try to answer good questions. But so anyway, all that to say is that I'm sitting through here today, and I'm hearing all kinds of people speak, and it's like, man, this is a field that I have always just left to the pros. So I've done composition work, I've done sound design work, and I do mainly a lot of music recording. And so I know how to get good recordings and good techniques, but didn't always know the jargon when it comes to film and post and things like that. And so I was really excited to see folks up here like Kat, who had taken my Logic class, and here she is all approaching sound design like a musician, which is really, really cool. And she's absolutely right when it comes to things like feel and when it comes to the impact and drama that needs to happen in your music or in the score that you're working on. And so those transitions and those kind of just little subtleties work their way throughout. And so for people that are composing and scoring, I think it's good to have a brain that's kind of has a foot in sound design as well as music creation. Now, I went to college for a little while, and then I signed a record deal back when it was cool to be on record labels. And I signed a record deal, and I went on tour for most of my life. And then, so I never finished, but I got trained on classical music. So writing and score and using things like that, and basics of music theory and things like that. But I wound up chucking all that out the door to do electronic rock music. So whatever. It works. But today, I don't know if I'm super stupid or if I'm smart or whatever when it comes to, I actually brought gear and was going to demo some things to you. And I just realized today that no one else brought a computer. So I could be potentially the moron and nothing works. And everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, he's so stupid. And so, but it doesn't make a difference because like I said, I've been called much, much worse. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to show you, I'm going to take a few minutes on kind of three techniques or tricks that, that even if you're not a musician, you can think of when you are asking for someone to work on the music for your piece. Or let's say, like a lot of people nowadays, you don't have the luxury to afford somebody to make some stuff for you from scratch, and you're kind of wearing the hats for everything. I'm going to just show you just a few kind of the super ghetto version of some kind of fancy tricks. Not fancy, but some people would think they're creative. Some people would think absolutely ludicrous and stupid. So I hope you like. So has anybody ever done one of the 48-hour film fests or one of the shootouts? Yeah, okay, so don't lie like you don't have like this love-hate relationship with those things, right? So I've helped out with quite a few of them, and a part of me is like, this is amazing. It's such a good exercise for your chops, and then the other part of me is like, what a crazy exercise in mediocrity. Like, it's just a promise that you're not going to have something amazing at the end, and you're always like, well, you know, we only had 2 days to work on it, and things like that. But I say that when I'm in it, and it's all super stressful, but afterwards it's like, that was awesome. You know, so I am a fan of those, make no mistake. But in doing those things, I found that some people were like, hey, we'd love for you to do the music for this. And we don't know what we're shooting yet or what it's about. And there's got to be, we have to say this word in it. And we also someone has to wear blue pants, not jeans. And so I don't even understand what's going on. So I'm like, well, what kind of mood do you want? What kind of vibe? Are you looking for something kind of up-tempo? Are you looking for something kind of contemporary? Do you want like classical, like just traditional? Like, we don't know. We don't even know. We haven't drew the thing out. So I'm like, great. So then, unbeknownst to me, because I'm not sitting there on set running around with everybody, they draw what it is, and I get a text that says, it's a scary comedy. Okay, great. So, and it's not until the last, 8 hours that somebody has something to show me that I can make music to. So that's not very good for us music/audio guys, because we need to get some other work done. So I was thinking, how can I come up with an idea to kind of get in the ballpark before they send me that QuickTime clip that I know is going to change 20 times before the end. So I was thinking, what if I could what if I treat this like, I'm sure there's a better name for it. I call it vertical mixing, to where I come up with a theme or something, a mood or a vibe musically. So drums, if there is, and I'll think of a key. So I'll say, okay, these are the notes I'm going to use for this character or for this thing. And then what I'll do is I'll make a section that works, but then I'll have them all be interchangeable with each other. So I'll spit out the stems. And so I'll say, all right, here's your low droney stuff. And here's your impacts and hits. And then here's your kind of piano. But the thing is that I make it on purpose to where I don't have to sit there and say, all right, it's perfect. And then I get another email or a Dropbox link that's like, oh, we changed this, and can you just change it and make it shorter for this? And I'm like, it doesn't quite work like that, and some of you know. So the way I get around that is by just giving them ideas, giving the director, giving you folks ideas of audio that you can slip and slide, and it won't be a big deal to me. It's all just my elements. So I give you the stems, you're like, well, we need the piano because it's kind of tense moment, questioning, reveal, and so all this stuff, and then you might shift where that is. But then instead of you crunking up all my stuff and then me getting mad and like, well, it's my art, and you're like, it's mine. And so I give you the pieces so that, you know, it's still our kid. You just chose on what moose to put in hair mousse. You know what I'm saying. Mousse. Who does mousse? I grew up at the New Mexico Boys Ranch, not for troubled children, just broken homes. We were troubled. But speaking of mousse, we would play pranks on each other, and one time I woke up with baby powder all over me, and it was my roommate, so I tackled him down, and I grabbed a can of mousse, because that was cool at the time, and I stuck it in his nose, and I went for that long. So you know that there was this huge thing of mousse in his nasal cavity, because all I saw was a little bit coming out, and he started honking. He was like, Anyway, that's my story about mousse. Isn't that awesome? Okay, what does that have to do with anything? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. All right. So this is a thing I did for this short film, and this is just kind of an example of things working with each other. So I use Logic, obviously. And what I'll do is, instead of making these transitions and instead of making all this stuff, pulling it in from a library, I'll make it from scratch. Because even though it takes longer, it's way better, and the payoff is like super, super way better. So, but I'll make it in key. So even the hits, boom, have a tone, and it matches what, so I'll give the director or whoever's editing even pieces of sound effect that they would probably use from some library, but I would make it in key with the music of this segment. So that makes everything kind of glue together when your sound effects, that even if, a lot of sound effects, even if they don't seem to have a note present, they do. You know, there's a pitch and a frequency that's present in those things. And so if you can make this stuff kind of glue together with a little bit of forethought, it's really, really nice. So that's what's going on right here. And I can scoot most all of this stuff around. I can take drum hits, hit them someplace else, make this all interchangeable. And so I would say bounce down these pieces to you. Not the, I would mix categories. So I'd maybe give you like 4 chunks, that you would have to scoot around, which would all fit with each other, which is a really great way to go. So this, I have 2 drones and one kind of air, that freaky, like, fluty tin whistle sound that everybody puts in something scary. That one, I had a bad dream. And so there's that sound. So that's in there. And then I have it going on with this, but the key is, and I bounced this down for this, but is that this is all in key. And so this little melody, for instance, fits anywhere with this, fits anywhere with this. So if you just need this drone to happen and you don't need any movement yet, fine, just put that there. And then when you see the movement need to happen between whatever part of your scene, you could just scoot this, and I'm not going to be bummed because it's going to fit in key wherever. So it's still me writing your stuff or coming up with something for it, but it all works. And so that way you don't have to hassle at the end with big editing changes. So when you have someone else work on the music for you, if whatever the format or the vibe that you're going for will accommodate it, ask for stems. Say, can you give me just the elements? Can I have all the percussive stuff, and can I have all the long, slow stuff, and can I have all the high, twinkly stuff in separate bounces to where if I were to put them all together, they'd play fine, but also I can maybe scoot individual elements around, and you'll find that everyone's really happy in the long run. So I call that vertical mixing. There's probably a way better name for it, but whatever. So it works for me. Now the other thing I'm going to show you, so that's one thing, okay? So that's more of a workflow thing. The other thing I'm going to show you is this. This is another example of, so I just had a vocalist come in and I told her just to sing long notes. And I directed her a bit. I said, try this, try this. I asked her to get kind of vulnerable and let it, she's a great singer, so I was like, kind of let it get a little out of control, And so I asked her to kind of let it kind of fall apart a little bit. But all of these pieces can scoot and move. So let's talk about my second technique, which is just reversing stuff. You might think, I know how to do that. I can flip stuff and make it backwards, no big deal. Listen, it's easy to be the guy who's just like, oh, he just made it backwards. I can tell when I hear it, and so can people that know. If you're going to make things backwards when it comes to audio, do it with intention. There's little tricks that you can make really cool, vibey, backwards shiz from, all right? Just by flipping your audio around. So let me show you an example. Piano, for instance, dreamy sequence, surreal sequence. Sometimes it's very cool to have piano just be kind of like backwards, right, during the scene. And a lot of times, well, what's the piano part that I'm about to flip backwards? I can tell you right now that your best bet is to make something that it's not in tempo, and just kind of like blah on the keys, but do it in key. So if I just kind of stick with this, and I do something like this, and I make it high, and I hit record, right? You're like, that was terrible. It's pathetic. You teach people? No wonder. And so, yeah, okay, well, I'm going to have the last laugh, because watch this. So I go and I take these awful notes, which is just really like all my school teachers and band lessons would be really ashamed of me right now, if they thought that was my final product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to bounce it down as audio. And I'm going to mute the old one behind. Oh, hey, that's nice. Nobody's ever seen that. I have a wife. My Mac Pro turns out is a 2010, which turns out was not up to the AirPlay spec. So I had to bring the iMac. Which wasn't. So my wife is always busy loading up cards, her camera cards, and knows nothing about file management, because I'm sure you all are amazing at it. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to mute that. And so here's my piano, the audio of it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this file, and I'm going to flip it backwards. And then I'm going to put some yummy reverb on it. I don't know, just like a little large hall and something to this effect. Now, so I just tinked out whatever, but when you make it backwards, and if I were to try to play a melody in time, flipping it backwards, it's not going to quite fit right. So the key is to embrace that and And so now let's kind of hear it with everything. Put it in the background some more. So you see how you can just flip something, make it backwards. You didn't have to be a piano virtuoso. You just kind of had to know, okay, this part's all white keys. And one black one. The first one when there's three, then the first one on the three. And so really, and so Scott, one of my composer, where's Scott? Scott's probably really mad right now. It's like, they're called notes and chords, and they have a structure. And so he doesn't talk like that at all. I'm just teasing him. Okay, now, another thing that the other technique I'm going to show you is everybody knows what reverb is, yeah? And so it's easy for a lot of us to think, that's what makes it sound like it's in the gym. And no, okay? I mean, yes, it's the idea is a space. But a lot of times people think reverb is designed for big halls like this. Medium, smaller, nice, posh halls. But you know what I'm saying. Like this. So, but no. The idea of reverb is to create a space. And a lot of times you can utilize a smaller reverb. That's why you see little rooms in your reverb settings. Or you'll see small room, little room. And you're like, I never use that. I just want the one that sounds like I'm in the big old church. But no, try messing with the small ones, because what that does is if you put a lot of your audio elements that are disjointed, this piece of dialogue, this piece of whatever, and they were maybe recorded in different places, and you need everything to kind of glue together. If you put kind of everybody through this one little reverb, just a subtle touch of it, you'll find that everything sounds like it happens together. And it glues it together. Now, that's the basics of using reverb like a normal person, okay? But you can use reverb. There's something called convolution reverb, which is basically kind of like sampling, but for reverb. And you can load in an audio file and apply an algorithm that kind of like makes it, best way I can explain is like it taints the genetic pool of the audio file. That's not the best way to explain it, but you know what I'm saying. This is the one time where that would be an appropriate saying. Okay, so let me show you. I come over here to my piano. I'm going to open up a little audio program, just a basic audio editor, and I'm going to show you what I mean by what's called an impulse response. So this is a reverb plugin right here in Logic. But instead of using sounds that were meant for reverb, like this just has a bunch of stuff that I can make it sound like it was in a big church, let's do this instead. I'm going to go to my little library, and where Apple puts all the impulse responses, and I've loaded some in. And you can take an audio file like this one. Use this blue whale. This is what the audio file sounds like by itself. It's really just like some synthesizer, analog synth kind of sound effect, right? That's all it's doing. You probably have sounds like this for days in your effects libraries, okay? But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the sound and I'm going to load it and use it as a reverb response, as an impulse response. So I come over here, and there's other programs that do this. But, I say load impulse response, and then I pick that blue whale. Actually, I'll do it from the proper library. And then now, if I come over here to the piano, which is loaded into the reverb, I can take any note that I want, and I can make it something completely different. So I have the piano sound that you heard earlier, okay? And I'm blending it in the gene mixer, so to speak, with this reverb, this crazy whale sound. You can do this with someone's voice. You can do this with dialogue. You can build the bed of mood and tightness just by running it through something crazy like this. I use effects to paint with. It's not because I got to cover something up. Look at that. Tension. What? What's happening? I'm going to walk backwards into this room. But you get what I'm saying. Just by using some tricky reverb and loading in sounds into a reverb type of plugin that were never meant to be reverbs. So it's just an audio file of a little... You can take a sound of someone crumpling some paper, and you can take it and load it into that reverb, and your sounds will have this, kind of, I don't know, you just have to try it. Okay? Experiment is what I'm trying to tell you. All right? Don't be afraid to try these things on your own. But I just turned the piano into something hella dreamy. And I didn't have to load up some string patch and figure out the chords. You know you like that. You know that's like kind of cool. Thank you. And again, I can take this and scoot it and put it on any part of the song. I only have like 4 tracks going on, and it's all like Gladiator and shiz, right? Like it's... So it's very, very cool. You can get a good vibe and mood with not a lot of stuff going on. Now, the other thing I want to show you, let's go back to kind of flipping stuff backwards for a second. And let me show you how to do that again with some intention. Or, yeah. So my wife does voice reads in town, and she does it for like a lot of commercial spots and radio broadcasts, like stuff that we all just usually want to smash our ears to. She knows it. She's okay with it. And so we're really glad the political ad season is over, because those things pay really good money, but you don't want anybody to know that you worked on them. Right? So when she's like, so-and-so, you failed. And it's like, oh, good thing her face isn't attached to it. She's like, I know, I don't hate that person. And so, but you're a pro, sweetheart. That's why you did it. Okay. So this is a spot of her. She's going to shoot me in the face. But I grabbed this morning.
The new Coronado Center, shopping like you've never seen before.
Oh, great. Coronado's new. No, it's not. All right, whatever. Coronado's nice. Go there. It's a great place. So imagine that we want to take this dialogue, and this is some freaky, scary, what's happening kind of thing, and there's some mannequin talking all super creepy, scary, saying this, right? And you're like, and you're in the dream sequence, and it's all Inception, and everything's getting skinnier and smaller, and so let's make this scary. I take this audio of her, and I'm going to bounce it down. This is a little trick. It's been around since the days of tape, but I call it preverb, okay? And so what this does is... Did it not bounce right? Let me do this again, sorry. Leave it behind. Okay, so I'm going to mute that. Here's my audio track.
The new Coronado.
Oh man, she's going to kill me. Okay, so I'm going to take this audio track and I'm going to flip it backwards. There's a couple steps to this. I'm going to flip it backwards. I double-clicked it. I'm going to reverse it. So now, it's like, I think Ozzy wrote this spot. That's the devil! But anyway, so I'm going to take, there's something backwards hidden in there. Youth group folks are not going to dig this. So I'm going to take this now and I'm going to run it through some big reverb. Okay, just normal reverb. Like a large hall. And let's hear it through some verb. Not good. Scary. So then what I'm going to take is do that is bounce it down with the effect. So I'm going to print a copy of it with that reverb. Okay? So now, here's this with the reverb. And I'm going to take it now and flip it back. So I'm going to go in here. It has the reverb on it, and I'm going to flip it back. And now I can scoot this up.
The new Coronado Center.
What is going on? So let me unmute this. Oh my God! Okay, so
The new.
let me get a little more anticipation going on here, and
The new Coronado Center.
all of a sudden now I have the freaky dream sequence.
The new.
There.
The new Coronado Center. Shopping like you've never seen before.
And so,
Celebrating 50.
this kind of effect is not just for creepy stuff, okay? You can make really good transitions like this piano. I can take this piano right here, and I hit 2 keys. Moment of truth, right? And I take that exact hit and I do the same trick. I bounce it out. Since it's a piano and a long note, I don't even need to do reverb. And then I flip it backwards, and then look what I get right before it.
Thursday for 8.
Let me solo these two so we don't hear creepy building up. So you get the element or the event itself being the thing that is the precursor anticipation for it itself. So it can be someone's vocal, it can be whatever. And then if you wanted to get really creative, so I have that. If you wanted to get really creative, you could change the notes. So I'll go down a step on both those octaves, and now when I play the note, it'll build up at one note. What? Right? Psst, pulled the switch. And so that's really, so there's your some tricks for you. Thank you. I don't have any method to this madness. I am a big believer in just, at the end of the day, it's what's coming out the speakers, and I'm all about like plugging something into something it's not supposed to be plugged into. Let's do this. And let's say, what? Or that sounds like crap. Try this. And so, but I love experimenting with sound. I would encourage you to do it. And here's the key, is you can't do it on a deadline. You have to just dedicate time to not get something done. Because we all know there's no, you can't schedule creativity. Like tomorrow, 4:30, I'm going to come up with something amazing. It doesn't happen like that. So you just got to say, tomorrow 4:30, I'm gonna dick around on the computer, see what happens. Facebook's turned off or whatever you're into, and just mess around. And that's when the cool stuff happens. If you make yourself the time to mess around. and then finish what you started. You come up with a good idea, see it through. That's the hard part. All the writers, will tell you that sitting down to write is the easy part. It's the finishing and the actual writing, going back to it. Yeah, so that's it. Let's go to some, thanks.